Some of you might know me from being a TV presenter. Some of you might know me as a pop singer or a charity worker. Some of you might judge me in a wrong way from what you read about me. Some of you might hate me, but I also have some friends, and they're sitting tonight in the audience. I've been through a lot in my life, and I promise when I stand here, I wouldn't cry. But none of you really know me as the girl I am. I'm a very good girl. And I just want to... And I just want you to listen to who I am. I'm a very simple girl. And I'd like to tell the story of loneliness, struggle, perseverance, and ultimate freedom. The story of Kurdistan, the story of me. I'd like to go back to when I was about 5 years old. I was playing in the streets of Sulaimanya. My dad was working very hard with his truck to provide us a very simple but perfect life. And I guess Kurdistan was very simple, but yet very perfect. And then, when in 1991, Saddam Hussein's tanks marched upon our lands, marched upon our dreams, we fled into the mountains. And we did that with tears. We went into the mountains. A lot of times I go back into the mountains because I find peace. And when you listen very careful to the mountains, you can hear it weeping. It cries. You can hear the sounds of thousands of people from many years ago. So it pains me to see how we litter our mountains, how it's been filled with rubbish. And I did my best with teams and students to clean it up, because it is the mountains that always has been protecting us. It's been loyal, it's been wise to us. So in 1991, my dad filled his truck with food and a tent and everything needed. I had my dolls. My aunt was a tailor, and I made the dress for my dolls. And I was in the garden, and it was night. And then I put my dolls on the ground, and then I wanted to wash my hand at the tank with water, bermili out, and then my dad said, Dashni, we're going. So we left, but I forgot my dolls. I forgot my dolls. I was 5 years old. And then we were in a truck towards Halabja. And then we couldn't pick up my grandparents because it was so chaotic, and the road was traffic and people were crying. The next morning, when I woke up, we were in front of the truck with my siblings and my parents. They were like a field with thousands of people. And I could see one boy, and he was picking bread from the ground. I was a child. No matter how ugly the situation was, I could still see beautiful colors. I could see the trees and the mountains. So I guess the theme tonight, thinking beyond war, I don't think adults can handle cruelty and ugliness like children. They still manage to see beauty in something very ugly. And I did that. I was in the mountains and I made friends, children, girls, and we were playing, but they got less and less and less. And then one day, there were two men with a white robe and a child inside. And they were like, 1, 2, and put it in the ground. So why they're putting that child in the ground? He said, and they're just playing with the child. And then now I realized the child was dead. But there were beautiful stories too. There were helicopters driving food. And you know what? I heard the story that they were throwing chocolate. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna get that chocolate. I swear, I knew I would get that chocolate. Every day, the airplane would come and drop food. And I was running to get that chocolate. I didn't get the chocolate, but I didn't lost hope. I didn't lost hope. And there's this amazing quote by an amazing Kurdish writer, Rebwar Sueli, and he says that humans, they don't give up on their hopes, looking forward. Patience and continuity is a part of our identity. And I guess that at that time I didn't give up on the chocolate, because later on I enjoyed a lot of chocolate, because I didn't give up on that. Everything changed. Kurdistan changed. I changed. We all changed. I got back. Everyone tried to rebuild their houses, but there was darkness ruling over Kurdistan. Our brothers were turning against each other. The civil war. My dad was taken into prison in his own town. He was beaten up and he almost died. And then when he came out, he said, "We're going to Europe." And I guess like many other dads, they just tried to find a safe place for their family and a better future for their children. Because Kurdistan was wounded and we were struggling. I was struggling and Kurdistan was struggling. On the way, my dad faced a lot. He faced a lot. He was sent back 7 times from Greece to Turkey. And every time at the jail in Turkey, they beaten him up and his friends. They were very successful businessmen in Sulaimanya. And then suddenly, they're in Rome, living on the streets, getting food from the church. But they didn't give up, because they had a very deep strength. And I'd like to share that strength with you. A power, not a power from greed or from money, a power of love. He was driven by the power of love because he needed to make it into that point to take care of his family. Once he arrived, we were facing a lot of problems. I was living in a castle in Sulaimanya. My dad worked very hard and we had a good life. But then for the first time, I had to wear plastic shoes to school. I remember I cried. But I thought, hey, that's a nice shoe. You know, it had like a red stone on top. And someday I'm like, I'm going to do like a fashion statement with those plastic shoes. He arrived there and later we joined him. On the road, it was very difficult because we couldn't speak any language. I only knew Sulaimanya and the mountains of Sulaimanya. That's all I knew. On the plane before, in Istanbul, there was a woman sitting with a bag of UN, so we could find her, because we don't know anything about the gates and the electric stairs and the boarding. We didn't know anything about that. So I discovered very soft Kleenex at the restrooms. So I said to my brother, "Psst, so we took some Kleenex with us. We went to the plane, and I said, "Oh, they have Kleenex here as well." So we took more Kleenex and we made our whole bag full of it. We arrived in Holland. I remember I went to the restroom at our house and I saw Kleenex. I said, "Oh, there is Kleenex here." So it didn't really matter anymore to me. I guess what I'm trying to say is we need to appreciate the moment we wake up, our parents, our friends, our work, the situation we're in now. And we opened ourselves up to the world. We are showing the world how brave we are and that we only seek freedom and want to share love with our neighbors around us. Like these 2 beautiful girls before me. They have talent and they want to show that to the world. Anyway, we faced a lot in Holland. We faced racism because we couldn't speak the language, and back then there was not that much foreigners. We were living in a very Dutch community. The children didn't want to play with us. One day we were in the garden playing and the children got a basket of water and they just throw it in our garden, dirty water, just because we were different. Just, I don't know, why is it so wrong to be different? But we managed to go through that time because that gives you strength to continue, which it did give to us. And then it came to a fact that when I arrived in Holland, I remember I said, "Mom, where are the mountains?" Because I thought the whole world exists out of mountains. And it wasn't. Holland was very flat. Kurdistan faded away from me. It had its own path, and I chose another path. I was struggling between 2 cultures. I saw my Dutch friends having freedom, and I didn't. I was playing soccer for 2 years, and I was really good at it. I was so good at playing soccer. But my parents took me out because they said, it's Aiba, you're a girl, you shouldn't play soccer. And now, thinking of it, it's not their fault. They wanted the best for me. It is the culture that tells them how you should raise your children. And I think culture, it is very important to you. But when you want to seek freedom, they need to listen to you as well. And that's what I was all about when I was a teenager. I was very rebelled to a certain point towards my parents. But I realized if I wanted to achieve freedom just like my friends, I need to go into a dialogue with my parents. It took about a year, and then they understood that I can, as well as my brother, achieve good things. And when I'm outside doesn't mean I'm being bad. Or when I play soccer, I'm being a bad girl. I was doing street dance with a group every week. It didn't mean that I'm bad doing that. It's just trying to discover yourself. And I was about 18, and I felt like I'm in search of my identity, of who I am. And at the same time, the same with Kurdistan. It is quite a romantic story to see that Kurdistan was doing his best to show the world who they are, their identity. And it was the same with me. I was trying to discover who I am. What was my call in the world? What can I do? And then I got in touch with Kurdish TV in 2005. They came with a show and they said, you can do this. And I was fading away from the Kurdish society. I was very Dutch. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do this so my parents can see that TV is my passion, and then I can go to Dutch TV. But the thing was, I discovered my roots doing that show. I learned so much, good things and bad things. For example, when I went to a party and I said, there were Badinis and there were Soranis. So there was like, and then the same, and then I knew we make a difference between each other, which I didn't like, because in Holland we have this unity. Now it's changing, and we are becoming more and more of a unity, but back then to me I felt that separation between all of us. I did 2 years the show. I was working in a restaurant, I was working in a store, selling jewelry for €5 and less. And then I had to take the bus for 2 hours until I was at the studio of Kurdistan TV in Germany. I didn't know what I was doing. We didn't have a producer. We didn't have any planning or any concept. The first time I presented, I couldn't understand the person because he was speaking Badini to me. And I said, oh, your clothes is very nice. So by not having any fear of not knowing anything, not having any information or being developed, I grew organically into a TV host because I wasn't scared. It isn't up to anyone to tell me whether I can do something. It's okay if I suck at it, if I'm a loser at it. It's about me being very strong and trying it and keep trying it. And I did that. We had many presenters coming to the studio. They gave up after 2 times because we didn't got paid that well. And it was only 2 people doing so much. It wasn't the fault of the station because media was very new to us back then. But what the TV did to me, they gave me an opportunity to grow and to discover my identity. I was opening up to the world and creating my identity. And I guess the same with Kurdistan. When I came back in 2007, after 10 years, now I'm 10 years in the media, and back then after 10 years I came back. It was so beautiful. Everyone was so kind to me. Everyone wanted to be my friend in all the media. They wanted to work with me. They wanted to be my friends. They wanted to help me out. And I thought, what's wrong with the people, the Kurds in Europe, in diaspora? They need to come back. It is amazing here. But I didn't know it wasn't true. They were all wanted to have a part of my fame. They took a bit, they took a bit, and they took a bit until I was left alone with no friends, no people, people thinking you're a bad girl. They have their judgments over you. I'm counting my money, how I can continue for the next month, my parents helping me, but people thinking you're nothing. But I didn't give up at all on Kurdistan. Thank you. Thank you so much. I didn't give up because I realized that during the 2 years I was doing the show without border control, I grew up too fast. I got too much responsibility from the people looking at the program. And the same happened with Kurdistan. It grew too fast. Everything happened too fast. Responsibilities all the way. So we both again struggled. We both again were losing ourselves. So I was very disappointed in myself and in Kurdistan. But I didn't give up because I wanted to experiment. I have love inside of me and I have so much energy, like a love vibration. And I wanted to discover what I could do. I wasn't the girl saying, when I grow up, I want to be very famous and a singer. No, I was bullied at school. I was the girl, very silent in a corner, and they bullied me. I was very ugly. And I thought I'm nothing and I'm worthy of nothing. So I had these imaginations in my head of what I should do to make the people look at me, get their attention, listen to me, say that I'm great. These imaginations made me go into TV, and from TV I wanted to express myself more into music. I didn't know how. And yes, I did. Within a week, I recorded an album and I had no clue what I was saying. They said, repeat after me. You say, hele hoppa, repeat after me. I had no idea what I was singing. I did it. I lost 50% of my fans. People on the streets calling me for bad names. Articles being written about me. Their words are still like a tattoo over my body. But it's my fault I let that words of dishonesty and ugliness take over my soul, because they forgot about me. They don't even know who I am now, those writing about me. But I feel it all over my body, the pain I have for 3 years, and I'm getting treatments, and they still don't know how I can fix my health. But I continued, although I lost 50% of my fans. And I remember one time I was at the airport and I was sitting alone because my dad was always waiting for me in Erbil. There were two guys sitting with me. He said I'd hate her very much. And I was reading the book and I wish I could die at that moment. And all the people were looking. But I didn't give up because there were so many people at the same time supporting me of who I was and who I wanted to be. And I'm grateful for them because of my past, I have a present. And because of that very struggling, painful past, I know I can have a beautiful future, and I know I will achieve great things in the future. Thank you, because I believe in myself. I continued to work with my team for 3 years, but I felt like I was growing into something else and they were someone else. And then in 2012, I contacted a new team. And then we wrote a story about my life and made it into music. And then the people were like, oh, well, Dashni's pretty serious. She isn't all about like the wow and the hey and singing about guys. She's singing about women empowerment. Oh, this is a good song. So the struggle, the pain, and the people kind of gave me a voice through my story. And I think that is something very blessing for me to have at the moment. I continued with that, and I opened myself up to the world, and I saw Kurdistan is opening itself to the world. And I think that I'm always telling the story of Kurdistan, and Kurdistan is telling the story of me. And I do believe that we have a very bright future. And I've been crying the last year and a half every day. They took my voice, they took my story. And I thought I'm nothing, and I'm a loser, and that's it, I should give it up. Until I got this opportunity to show you myself as a human being. Thank you. So I'd like to tell you that I'm at the moment reading a book, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, and he says, thank you, about that sorrow and joy are inseparable. When you are alone with joy, do remember that the sorrow is sleeping upon your bed and it will be awakened. So I know that I've been crying so many times and I'm screaming and I'm desperate for all of you to know me But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I am seeking the ultimate freedom. Kurdistan is seeking the ultimate freedom. And to do that, we need to do it with the strength we got from our mothers and fathers, coming from bravery and courage. We need to motivate each other for that. And I do promise you, if we work with the power of love, we'll have a beautiful future tomorrow. And I thank you very much for your time. Thank you. So spas.